Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about getting laid off. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Hi Frederick, thank you for your videos. No worries. I want to ask, how to prepare for possibly being laid off in tech companies? Well, that's easy. So first and foremost, make sure that your CV is up to date. Make sure that if you have any new skills or talents, or if you haven't put all that much effort into the thing, make it look nice and decent. You can take a few videos and tips and tricks from people who do this sort of stuff, or you can use mine if you want to. You can check mine out. I'm in no way claiming that is a professional thing. It's just like it like you put a few basic images and what you like and so forth. I've gotten some compliments from recruiters, but they will say anything. Maybe they were serious, maybe they really liked it. I don't know, but you can take a look at some inspiration from that thing if you want to as well. To just make sure that it looks nice and clean and professional and so forth. That's number one, because usually the CV is the first introduction people get to your profile. So if it looks good and it has relevant information and so forth, that's a very good first step. And then we do the thing that we should be doing at all times, my friends, and say it with me. We have experience in relevant tools and skills for mainstream development. Or we can abbreviate that to have relevant skills and know about relevant tools. That's what it is about, guys. These are the two things the main two things. I'll give you a third one that can be useful as well, but this is the main thing. If you're getting laid off in a tech company, it's usually not because the company itself, being laid off, guys, it's a part of being a worker. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, and there's not much you can do about it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are bad or good or whatever. It's like a company is run by in many for many people get laid off for many different factors, right? And so if that happens to you, if you have relevant tools and skills in your tool belt, you don't really have to worry all that much, because the demand for software development, like I keep on reading about people freaking out most of the people who freak out, say in the US, I can understand, when you work for like LinkedIn or Facebook or like whatever, when they're laying off thousands of people at the same time, especially if you're there on like a visa or something like that. But we're talking about, guys, that's like a fraction. Do you have I don't think people fully understand how large the demand for software developers, how large it is. And you think that, oh yeah, tech companies like Google, or like they fire like 1,000 people. That's nothing, guys. It's a nothing if you look at it from a global perspective. Sure, it's one of the top IT companies and so forth, but it's nothing if you think about it in a global scale. We're talking about that the deficit was 2 years ago. The deficit was 9 million, and that was in the US alone. Globally, I don't even know at this point. Like you can go and check the numbers if you want to get some rough ideas. But let me just say this to you guys: practically everybody I know in IT are getting borderline daily offers or like invites to do recruitment processes, because most people don't get offers like from nothing, right? But the recruiters are, let's just say, they're not going to go away anytime soon. But it really comes down to, as I've said many times before, guys, it's the quality of your skills and the relevancy of your profile that is the really main determining factor here. And so what I usually give people as an advice is that you try to understand, like, at what level you are, what's your niche, or the thing that you, especially the more up the ladder you go. It's important for you to understand that this is an ongoing maintenance type of thing, where if you sort of clock out, and as I like to call it, you take the factory worker's career path, where basically you just go and stand and you do your thing for 19, 20 years, and then the factory shuts down, and people realize that now, when they hired you, you were 19 something something doing some manual thing, and now you're in your 40s, and you haven't developed. Like, you can't take responsibility, or like you don't know any leadership skills or anything like that. Well, why would I pay you when I could just pay a 19-year-old? It's the same principle with our software developers. Like for me, as an example, like at this point, I've reached a point in my career now where I get offers both for just software development jobs, but I also get like people who reach out. Do you want to like found a company with us, or do you want to take over as a CTO? Or like some of these offers are starting to emerge because I'm getting to that part or that age in my or that area in my career where people are starting to like I'm getting to the point where I can, if I want to transition into something other than being like a purebred software developer, if I just want to do leadership or anything like that, I can, assuming that I have those skills and I have invested in my profile, so that when you've learned all, quote unquote, all the things say about software development and you really get good at that stuff, well, I tell people, don't stop there. Continue learning. You don't have to like just clock out. Try to acquire skills in, as I like to say, like try to broaden, like that. I call it my knowledge onion. Create a kernel, like a center, which is really strong tech skills, and then add another layer around it. Like add something like, oh yeah, maybe you're a really strong backend developer. All right, let's learn some Docker. Or let's learn some basic ops. Let's learn a little bit about security. Or let's learn about how do you run, like how do you do the daily stand-up? How do you become like a hobby level scrum master? How do you manage a backlog? How do you manage a team? These sorts of leadership things, etc., etc. Because all of these things, they start like you get more and more layers on your onion until that thing just keeps on growing. And if you do that for most of your career and you keep looking at things that adds relevancy, you start with the really important stuff. The kernel has to be super solid, right? But I tell people, don't stop there, because you can do so much more. And then the last thing I will give you as a tip is, and this is a very minor one, I have not had to do this because the time it takes me, the times that I have been laid off at one point or two as well, usually the time it takes me to get the next job is measured in, like, the recruitment process can sometimes take longer or slower, but I mean the getting a new interview is like the day after. Or like the longest I've ever waited to actually finish a process was 1 or 2 months, where I was just waiting to get the contract because the company was very big and very slow. But on average, like getting a new job for me, even when I was much more junior, was like it took no time at all. But it can be a good investment for you to have some contacts with some recruiters and some companies, because if you're really desperate to sign like the next deal and like get another job or something like that, and you want to move really, really quickly, it's good to have some feelers out for that, because as I said, some companies can take a while before they actually, when you start your first day, and some companies are like really, really fast. So watch out for that. Especially, it can be especially true for companies that have like that are really, really large. They can take quite some time. Where if you're gonna do some work for the government or something like that, where process is like part of everything they do. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you're gonna prepare to be laid off, simple. Make sure you have a relevant CV, keep that thing up to date, polish it a little bit. Think of it as your shop window. It's the first thing everybody's going to see about you. So have a nice picture, like that looks pretty nice. Have relevant information, tell you a very short little description about yourself. You can look at videos about this. It's super easy to do. Add some pictures from your offices, so make it look clean and so forth. So it grabs a little bit of attention when people look at it. It's like your LinkedIn, like I usually just use LinkedIn for this sort of stuff. You can go and check mine if you have no ideas whatsoever. Number 2, make sure that you have quality experience and know about relevant tools. Don't stop learning things, guys. Try to add relevancy. Start with learning how to just code, then learn how to do testing really well, then learn how to run a team really, really well, and then learn how to set up CI pipelines and take responsibilities that goes slightly wider. Build that onion, the knowledge onion. Just add more layers to it. Third and lastly, have some contacts. Recruiters are always connecting with you on LinkedIn if you want them to, and so forth and so forth. And then when you start seeing that, things are not, it seems to go poorly in the current company, mention something to them. take a few interviews, start up the process, and see what's out there, because sometimes it can take a little while. Even if you get like an interview the day after, it can take some time before you actually sign something for some companies. So if you want to make something go really, really quickly, do a little bit of prep work, and maybe the process will go faster. Have a great day.